to hand it over to Judith Logan Junop, Vice President of the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers, Local 160, Labor Community Service Board of Trustee Treasurer, and 2021 Campaign Cabinet Labor Co-Chair, who will be our MC for this morning. And thank you everybody for coming, and I hand over to Judith now.
Thank you, Faduma, and good morning, everybody. Before we begin our program today, I would like to first go through some virtual housekeeping. The meeting will be recorded and will be shared later online. During the meeting, everyone's mic will be put on mute. Speakers will be asked to unmute themselves when it's their time to present. The chat function will be available and will be monitored. This is a safe space and we ask everyone to respect one another. If for any reason we have to shut down the program, we will resume at another date and follow up with an email confirmation. At this time, I would also like to welcome Heather Erlin, Ontario representative at the Canadian Labour Congress and 2021 Campaign Cabinet Co-Chair, to open with our land acknowledgement. Heather?
Thank you, Judith, and good morning, everyone. We begin by honoring the land that we are on, which has been the site of human activity since time immemorial. It is the traditional territories of the Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Mississaugas of the Credit River First Nations. These nations and this land were subject to the One Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the land and its resources. Other Indigenous nations, Europeans, and newcomers were invited to this covenant in the spirit of respect, peace, and friendship. Today, Takaronto, now known as Toronto, is under Treaty 13 and is home to many Indigenous nations from across Turtle Island, including the Inuit and the Métis. We are mindful of broken covenants and strive to make this right with the land and with each other. We are all treaty people. Many of us come here as settlers, immigrants, newcomers in this generation or generations past.
Thank you, Heather. And again, thank you all for being here with us this morning for the 2021 President's Breakfast. Today, our goal is to connect, engage, and inspire. You will be hearing from leaders within the labor movement and from our communities about the importance of our work together. With labor being a founding partner of United Way, we continue to emphasize how your support each year directly impacts the well-being and recovery of our members, our communities throughout Peel, Toronto, and York region, where we all work and live. Our story is rooted as far back as 1917 with the beginning of communal fundraising efforts in Canada. Central Committee of Community Chests and Councils were founded in 1939. And by 1956, the first United Way was incorporated with the Toronto-York Region Labour Council as a founding partner. Labour Community Services was established in 1982 to uphold the partnership. And by 1988, the Canadian Labour Congress formalized its partnership with the United Way Centraide Canada. All this is to say that we have more than 100 years of getting to where we are today, and working together to support and raise up our communities for a better today and tomorrow. Unions and United Way partner to address issues such as poverty, job security, and affordable housing. This past year, your support has helped 2.2 million people across the GTA with 550 social service agencies. I would like to now hand it off to Gopi Suriyankumar, Vice President of the Toronto Public Library Workers Union, Local 4948, and 2021 Campaign Cabinet Labour Co-Chair, to talk about our goal. Gopi?
Thank you, Judith. This year, United Way Greater Toronto's goal is to raise $105 million to serve the Peel, Toronto, and York region, and in turn, agencies that also serve our sisters and brothers and the communities we live in. While some of us may feel that the worst of the pandemic is over, many of our friends and neighbors are still feeling its significant impact. Throughout the pandemic, and as we start to recover and rebuild, a gift to United Way is helping hundreds of thousands of people and families access the support they need. For example, when the pandemic first hit, We brought 400 plus agencies together with regional and municipal partners at more than 20 community coordination tables across the GTA to help us understand the needs and deliver the coordinated local response. The pandemic disproportionately impacted our neighbors experiencing poverty, many of whom live in low-income neighborhoods and are racialized or from other equity-seeking groups. During the crisis, food insecurity has been exacerbated. Layoffs has skyrocketed for low-wage workers, the housing crisis has gotten worse, and mental health is worsening. But again, thanks to donors like you, United Way has been able to be on the ground addressing these unignorable issues. This year, we have been working together to address 3 critical areas. First, meeting the basic fundamental needs. Second, tackling local poverty and the discrimination and the inequality at its roots. And third, building an equitable recovery. We all know it's a team effort and it takes hard work and dedication to keep the momentum going. Together, we can continue to help raise essential funds for community agencies across the Peel, Toronto, and York region. Our partnership provides union members volunteer opportunities through the United Way campaign cabinet and committees. It also provides labor staff and campaign support, as well as leads program services. But last but not least, supports programs that provide union members an opportunity to learn and grow as leaders in their community through the Labor Community Advocate Training Program. Your ongoing support to the United Way also directly supports programs that lift people up, who can then help the communities to make them better. One example is the Labor Community Service, which provides Labor Community Advocate Training Program. Jillian has shared that having the opportunity to learn about the pockets of help in their community has been one of the most valuable training courses available. The ability to know how to help these in the workplace, membership, neighborhood, and family can leave such an impact on an individual. Our goal is to continue making an impact and making positive change so everyone can recover from this pandemic and thrive. Thank you, and I'll hand back to Judith.
Thank you, Gobi. Blue Door is another one of United Way Greater Toronto's community agencies. When we support United Way, we also support our sisters and brothers like Emily Dupree, a Blue Door community housing worker, and SEIU healthcare member. She has seen the importance of agencies like Blue Door serving the community during the pandemic. Let's hear her story.
Blue Door, and I am the community housing worker at Porter Place. Blue Door Support Services is a nonprofit organization located in York Region, and we offer emergency shelter to people experiencing homelessness, but we also have a number of other supports available as well. So we have housing retention for people who are housed to help them retain that housing and hopefully never enter back into the shelter. We also have supportive housing, which is new. We've had it just over a year, so that's really awesome. Just giving people a little bit more time that the shelter doesn't allow. Being a part of Blue Door Support Services is a really amazing feeling. This past year has been extremely difficult on absolutely everybody, but especially the populations that we serve at Blue Door. Being able to go to work every day and know that I'm making a difference and everyone within the Blue Door team, it's a really great feeling. I think this pandemic has really highlighted the fact that homelessness does not discriminate, and that we really all could be in that position at any time in our lives. So to have those resources, to be knowledgeable about those resources, to be able to offer that support to everybody within York Region, it's a really amazing feeling, knowing that we're making a difference. Throughout the pandemic, we have supported many different people in many different situations. The impact that we have had on the community, and specifically the people who have accessed our services, are very wide-ranging. When people hear the words Blue Door or homelessness or Ontario Works, there's a lot of stigma surrounding those things, but I think that this pandemic has really opened up everybody's eyes that homelessness can happen to absolutely everybody and anybody. We support people who have never experienced homelessness before. We support people who have been in the system for a really long time. And it's so nice to see within my role as the community housing worker to see people who are able to secure permanent housing, and people that we've been supporting for months throughout the pandemic when housing has been really difficult, to have them move into permanent housing, and you can just see the relief that they feel. I would say first and foremost, people that are having a difficult time, who are struggling, our services are probably the most beneficial to them, to know that we are there to support them, that we can offer compassion, that we can offer empathy, that the majority of people that work in social services have some lived experience. And I think that's why people get into social services, is they want to make a difference. At Blue Door, we strive to promote diversity and inclusion and make sure that anybody entering our doors feels safe and that they are going to receive the same level of support as anyone else. Not only do we care about the people that we support, but they also care about their employees. Throughout the pandemic, a lot of people have lost their income and lost their jobs and have faced financial hardships, but it was really comforting to know that I had a place to go every day to work, where I was also supported by my union. So making sure that we had proper PPE throughout the pandemic, that there were proper protocols in place to ensure that we were safe, that we knew who to reach out to if we had any concerns at all. So it's been comforting through this time of uncertainty to know that we had somebody to reach out to if we needed to. My name is Emily Dupre.
Thank you, Emily, for the message. Now I'd like to welcome Mina Amrith, Vice President of Seiu Healthcare. Mina was born in East Africa, Tanzania. Her passion and inspiration stems from her father, who always taught her that girls can be whatever they want to be. As a mother of 3 and a frontline registered practical nurse at Sunnybrook Health Services Centre in Toronto, she found her place helping others and worked there for more than 20 years. During that time, she became involved with the Seiu Healthcare as a chief steward and became very politically active. She was also the first to implement a dedicated RPN steward into the workplace and organized International Women's Day events. Mina, I invite you to unmute your mic and tell us your story.
I think her mic is not working.
Mina, we can't hear you at the moment. It could be your earphones. Do you have earphones in? Richelle, could you help?
Mina, maybe if you'd like to try signing off and then signing back in again, then we'll circle back. Thanks, Mina, no worries.
We'll come back to Mina shortly. Our program's theme this year is Rise Up for United Recovery. This year is the second year in a row where the Peel, Toronto, and York Region Labour Councils have collaborated to come and show that we care about the bigger picture, and that by working together, our chances of supporting our members and communities is greater. Leaders from across the labor movement have stepped up to the challenge, and we've invited our guest speakers to reflect on our theme. Rise Up for United Recovery, to help encourage and inspire us to continue moving forward and taking action. First, I'd like to welcome Andrea Babington. Andrea is the president of the Toronto York Regional Labour Council, representing over 220,000 union members in Canada's largest urban centre. An immigrant to Canada in her youth, Andrea joined the labor movement when she began working in the hotel sector in downtown Toronto, where she became chief steward in her hotel at the age of 19. Andrea is the first woman of color to sit as the president at the Labor Council and is committed to fighting for a just economic recovery from COVID-19 pandemic and beyond, equality and justice for all workers, growing the labor movement by increasing union density, and fighting for climate justice to ensure a future for our children. Thank you, Andrea, for being here, and I invite you to please unmute and tell us your story.
Thank you, Judith. Good morning, sisters and brothers. It's a pity we're not able to be together face to face. I thank you for the introduction, Judith. And as Judith mentioned, we have come together this morning because we see the big picture, and rising up for united recovery means just that. We're coming together to get to the core of what needs to get done, and that's getting everyone on the road to recovery. When we think of the word recovery, it's a word that takes time, a time to heal, a time to reflect, a time to get back what we lost. But it also implies a time to build, fix, and restart. And this is not about going back to the bad old normal. We have seen how devastating the pandemic has hit our communities, rocking the foundations of what we all needed to survive. From seeing our healthcare system being tested to its limit and frontline essential workers risking their lives each day, to seeing the act of hate and racism, we all woke up to the unfortunate reality that existed before the pandemic, but have either ignored or put on the back burner for far too long. The pandemic has also shown us many opportunities. It has given us the opportunity to reflect on how to do things better, because we all saw our foundation weren't as solid as we thought they were, and presented lots of room for improvement. We now want to make things better. We want to build back better, and we can only do that if we take time to get to the root of the problem. You will hear more about the joint history of the United Way, Greater Toronto, and the Toronto and York Region Labour Council from others. This year, the Labour Council 150th year anniversary, celebrate our 150th year anniversary in working together for justice. And it's also the 65th anniversary of Labour Council helping to establish the United Way here in this region. And we are proud of this partnership. Our long-standing partnership with United Way has allowed us to be on the ground and to help provide essential support to our communities when they need it most. With labor activism at the pulse of fighting for social justice, we have been at the forefront of conversation and action needed to address the unignorable issue of poverty and discrimination. Over $100 million goes into the right place to lift up the vulnerable and give them a sense of security, hope, and for many, what they can only dream of. With your support and vision, this become reality. In many words, I would say you become an angel to someone. None of this is possible without donors. And your attendance this morning is reinforcing our commitment in partnering with United Way to invest in services that help thousands of people in our community. Let us go back in our organization, in our union, and update our members on the progress in spite of the toll that the pandemic has taken on all of us, the needs are even much greater. Our members continue to fight for improvements in their workplace and a community that is fit to live in. And that can only be achieved by them being a part of the change in the lives of their coworkers and their neighbors. Let's work with our members in committing to the campaign. So today, I encourage everyone to rise up to the challenge and to continue supporting United Way as we get on the road to recovery. We are the union and we are the movement. Our united recovery requires all of us 365 days of the year for each other and for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrea. Now, let us welcome Ram Salvaraj. Ram is the first Vice President of the Peel Regional Labor Council and Vice President of OPSU Local 524. He also serves on the Board of Trustees of OP Trust, one of the last defined benefit pension plans in Ontario. Thank you, Ram, for being here. I invite you to please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Judith. Greetings on behalf of Peel Regional Labor Council. I want to thank and acknowledge all of you here and the volunteers of United Way and its member agencies for making a difference in the region of Peel, such as the funding of the Labor Community Services of Peel in their efforts to enforce worker rights, and the assistance provided to the senior Tamils of Peel to reduce the impact of COVID on seniors last year. I want to acknowledge United Way as the largest non-government funder of social services and the last defense against poverty in this province. And for that, thank you. I want to thank you on behalf of my union, OPSU, for allowing us to be participating in this effort that you are doing. I want to say, in participating in fundraising at our work, the United Way activities has not just allowed us to help contribute to the community, but it's also helped us to enhance our workplaces. It has severe impacts, positive impacts on our worker collaboration, teamwork, and those are some of the efforts that has helped us in having a better workplace. You know, managers put aside their differences, workers put aside their differences in raising the most amount of money they can because they know that effort is directly impacting the community. I dream of a day when we will no longer say that the need is greater than ever before. Together, we can build a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. Now I'd like to welcome Abdi Haji Yusuf, Secretary Treasurer of CUPW, Toronto Local, Secretary of Toronto and York Region Labor Council, and President of the Labor Community Services Toronto Board. Abdi began working at Canada Post as a temporary worker in 1991 and quickly became a shop steward working to protect the rights of workers. Abdi has since held many positions within CUPW, and in 2004, he was elected the first Black chief shop steward for what was then Canada's largest postal facility, the Gateway East Postal Facility. Abdi works to push the equity and human rights agenda to the forefront of all labor actions and activities. Welcome, Abdi. I invite you to please unmute yourself.
Thank you, my sister Judith. Thank you very much. Before all of that, I was a new refugee to Canada who went through the system, who know what the United Way does. Sisters and brothers, good morning. I would like to begin by saying that every journey begins by taking the first important step that faces and focuses how your day will be, or many, many days after that will be. And that very important steps we have all taken this morning to come and participate this event that will serve many people who don't have a voice and are not here today. We are here today to rise up for a just, united recovery. And I am inspired, I am humbled to be amongst many leaders from labor and the community. As president of the Labor Community Service Toronto Board and having various roles in labor, and as a new immigrant and refugee in this country, I have seen closely the important work United Way and labor unions have done to support our communities and the people we live in Canada. As mentioned in many surveys and TV broadcasts, over 2.2 million people accessed United Way funded organizations last year. Sisters and brothers, comrades, it's not secret that what we are hoping to do this crucial and important season is to raise more funds for United Way to help more people this time more than ever that we need. But our goal is also to constantly remember the why. As we know, the pandemic's not over. And although we are being prepared to get back to normal, some people won't have a normal to get back to, and will have to pick up the pieces of what the pandemic has done to their lives. In my family, we have something we call reality check. Once a week, or more than once a week, we drive around and look at the homeless and help and participate, volunteer our times to see the people who need help on our streets, our neighbors. We have seen that although the pandemic has hit everyone, it has taken the greatest toll on marginalized groups and women. Rising up for a united recovery also means rising up for an equal and just recovery for all. A recovery that will not leave any community, any neighbor, any friend and co-worker behind. When we think of the work we do in labor, we need to think about the various solutions available to help build our communities back up. Because without a labor, the communities will not achieve the goals. The communities will not survive and be part of this great country. It takes thinking outside the box, breaking down the barriers, taking chances and collaboration. With hundreds of thousands of union members working in every sector supporting the United Way Community Recovery Campaign, we are taking our activism on this journey to recover together. We must take it personal this time. Personal, because many people will not be able to make the ends meet this time because of the years we saw last 1 or 2 years. And so again, thank you as leaders of our local unions and communities for taking the first important step today, this morning, in spreading the word and being that spark that gets everyone going. It's very important to remember every family. It's very important to open your eyes when you're walking around or ordering your double-double. There is somebody sitting outside or sleeping in a basement on a street that cannot do that. Thank you, sisters and brothers. Back to you, Sister Judith.
Thank you, Brother Abdi. We're going to try and go back to Mina. Mina Amrith.
Can everyone hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. And as a reminder, Mina Amrith is the president of the Seiu Healthcare. Go ahead, Mina.
Thank you so much, Judy. Welcome to the world of technology. So my apologies. But good morning, everyone. I want to first thank Emily from the video for sharing that important information with us. We are so proud to represent Emily and her colleagues. And I know that they are grateful for the support they receive from the United Way. As mentioned, my name is Mina Amrith, and I'm thankful to be here on behalf of Seiu Healthcare to say a few words. Seiu Healthcare has been a proud supporter of the United Way and the amazing important work they do over 20 years. Over the past 2 years, we've seen more than ever crucial the United Way resources and supports are to our communities, including many frontline workers. The headlines involving COVID-19 often focus on the case numbers, deaths, restrictions, and government policies, and for a good reason. But it's through the work of organizations like United Way that many have gotten through the unspoken pandemic inside of this pandemic. Isolation and lockdowns have led to an increase in addiction issues, domestic violence, and mental health issues. But because of programs like Labor Community Services, Labor Community Advocate Training, which many of our members have taken, lives were saved because the danger signs related to these topics were identified. This is just one example of how Labor and United Way work together to support our communities. Through Labor's advocacy and activism, and through United Way's 200 community agencies in the Peel, Toronto, and New York region, we are working together to make Ontario a better place to live and work. And I am proud of what we've accomplished together. As we head into the holiday season, we will see an increase in support for the United Way. But I ask all of you, as part of the Labor family and movement, to consider supporting United Way's work year-round, because our communities need support 365 days a year. Thank you again for having me here today, and thank you for the important and amazing work I know you will continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mina. Next, we have Lily Chang, Secretary Treasurer of the Canadian Labour Congress. Lily started her career as a social worker. Much of her work focused on social inequality. She saw firsthand the difference strong social programs can make in people's lives. Along with her time on the Labour Council, Lily spent almost 2 decades at CUPE Local 79 as an executive officer. Lily proudly tells people that she was made in Taiwan, as she was born there after her parents escaped from China during the Civil War. Lily's father came to Canada by way of Saskatoon, with the rest of the family following shortly. Her family imparted the values of hard work and fairness, which served her well as she excelled in school and went on to earn a psychology degree from the University of Toronto. Welcome, Lily. I invite you to please unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, and good morning, sisters, brothers, and friends. I'm so happy to be here with you this morning. It's always great to see so many leaders of our movement coming together to support an important cause. And the fabulous work that the United Way of Greater Toronto does every day in our communities to fight local poverty is such an important cause. 30 years ago, I was hired as a caseworker for the City of Toronto. And I visited many families in low-income neighborhoods, and I saw how inequality and racism were linked to poverty. My caseload consisted of single-parent families, many newcomers and refugees who didn't understand English, much less how to navigate the programs and systems that were in place to help them adjust to life in Canada. Mothers and their children escaping from war-torn countries, famine and persecution, grateful to be here, safe, but in desperate need of shelter, groceries, and winter clothes. There was only so much that I could do to help. I could get them social assistance, make referrals to housing, give them directions to the local food bank, but they needed so much more. And that's where the community agencies came in, community agencies funded by United Way. So I've understood for a long time the value of strong social programs to tackle local poverty, and appreciated the important role of United Way agencies stepping up to provide services, filling in the gaps left by government programs. That's the direct impact in our neighborhoods. I've also been privileged to work alongside passionate, creative leaders from government, community, business, and labor, and saw up close how the United Way works so hard to achieve that impact. I was very proud to serve on the board of the United Way of Greater Toronto for 7 years as a labor representative. It was during this time that the United Way made the strategic decision to change from a funding agency to a community impact agency. I also saw United Way Toronto merge with York and Peel regions, becoming today's United Way of Greater Toronto. And I learned much more about what happens behind the scenes, the research, the collaboration, and the leveraging that United Way does, bringing together government, business, community, and labor partners, providing the evidence to inform policy, helping to channel our social responsibility. Since my time on the board, I've changed roles and am now honored to be the Secretary Treasurer for the Canadian Labour Congress. As the largest central labour body in Canada, we represent 3 million members and advocate for workers from coast to coast to coast and fight every day for a more inclusive economy. The CLC and United Way share a common vision of prosperous, inclusive, diverse, and respectful communities. Labour, as you heard, is one of the original founding partners of the United Way, and Labour continues to play a vital role in the work of the United Way, not only through generous financial support, but through many hours of volunteering. And Labour leaders like you have led and supported campaigns in our workplaces and unions. Both the United Way and Canada's unions have a long tradition of helping those who are struggling, working together with people to make a better future for all of us. Because Canada's unions fight hard for the dignity of everyone in our communities, whether they're a union member or not. The labor movement is guided by values like equity, fairness, and solidarity, values that we share with the United Way, values that say we can't be satisfied while people in our communities are jobless or starving or homeless or abused. I don't have to tell you that many Canadians are struggling right now. Many of our own members and neighbours have gotten sick or lost family members to COVID. Many have become more precariously unemployed or lost their jobs altogether. And this pandemic has laid bare existing inequality in our country, and many in our community have suffered a greater impact than others. That's why the CLC has been working hard, calling for a fair pandemic recovery plan that leaves no one behind. We've been calling for things like improved EI, pharmacare, affordable housing, good jobs, and universal childcare, things that will help strengthen our social safety net and leave us all better prepared for the next emergency. People are worried about affordability and making ends meet, and job recovery has been uneven. In 2019, there were almost 1 million visits to food banks in Toronto, and that was before the pandemic turned the world upside down. United Way Toronto stepped up, as they always do, and helped fund organizations that address food insecurity. They built important partnerships that will help address food access going forward. And they continue to ensure that people across this region will have access to good food close to home. But it's not enough. Canada needs a plan to replace lost jobs with better ones. These jobs must offer decent pay and benefits like sick leave and a path to unionization. We need investments in affordable housing and education, and we need to finish a job and make affordable childcare available to every family so that parents, especially women, can get back to work. Our shared values are what have kept us strong for so many years, and I look forward to continuing to work together with our Labour family and United Way Greater Toronto as we help shape a pandemic recovery that allows everyone in Canada to prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. How inspiring. Next, we will hear from Fred Hahn, President of CUPE Ontario. Fred was a social worker raised in rural Ontario and became active in CUPE in 1991, joining the staff of Community Living Toronto as an advocate for children with developmental disabilities. As a local union activist, Fred was a steward, a health and safety activist, and a pay equity and contract negotiator. After being elected president of CUPE Local 2191, Fred led his local through a successful 3-month strike that beat back a long list of concessions. In 2010, Fred made history when he was elected the president of CUPE Ontario, the first LGBTQ person elected to lead the nation's largest union. province's largest union. Nation is on your list, Fred. Fred is also the General Vice President on QB's National Executive Board and Vice President of the Ontario Federation of Labour. Welcome, Fred. I invite you to please unmute yourself.
Thanks so much, Judith, and good morning to you all. I bring you greetings on behalf of our union, the Canadian Union of Public Employees. We're proud to represent municipal workers in cities and towns across Ontario, folks who work in our schools, who support our kids and keep those buildings clean and safe and running, folks at universities who keep those institutions also clean and safe and running, but do the majority of instruction at universities across the province, all throughout our healthcare system, in long-term care, in hospitals and community agencies, and also at social service agencies, like the one that I came from. As you heard, I worked in community living and I worked with kids with developmental disabilities, and the agency that I worked at, Community Living Toronto, is a United Way agency. And from my early days as a frontline worker, we had a workplace campaign in our workplace, and I began contributing to the United Way as a residential counselor. And I continued to do that while I was active in the union. And as I took on a role at QP Ontario as the president of QP Ontario, I understood my responsibility. And I'm proud to say that I contribute at the leadership level now to the United Way, and that we've started a workplace campaign for our staff at QP Ontario as well. It's an important thing for us to do. It's so great to be here with leaders of our movement from every level. We just heard from Lily Chang, a leader of the Canadian Labour Congress, representing workers from across the entire country. And I'm proud to say someone I know well from my own union. We have the leaders of the Ontario Labour Movement with us today, Patty Coates, who's the president of the Ontario Federation of Labour, and Ahmed Gaid, who's the Secretary Treasurer, and Janice Folk-Dawson, who's the Executive Vice President, also someone I'm proud to say comes from my own union. And of course, we have Andrea Babington and so many executive members from the Toronto Region Labour Council. It's incredibly important, and it shows the connection between our movement, the labor movement, and the work that is done by the United Way. As workers, we know that what our job is on behalf of our members. Our job is to build solidarity and to advocate for better for them in their workplaces, certainly when it comes to their wages and their working conditions. But as trade unionists, we also understand that our members are parts of communities, and that our job doesn't end advocating for them at the workplace door, that we must also work to make our communities better and stronger. There have always been forces trying to make that harder to do. We know that discrimination, anti-Black racism, anti-Asian racism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, all of these things have existed before the last 19 months when our world was turned upside down. But alongside the economic challenges that so many of our members and so many of our families and neighbors faced during this unprecedented global pandemic, we've also seen the ways in which there are those who try to use those forces to drive even deeper divisions in our communities. And it's why the work that we're doing here today is so deeply connected to the work we do as unions. We understand the power of solidarity, what it means to come together and to actually work together to solve problems. Of course, we should advocate for more assistance from government. Of course, we should advocate for improvements, but working people don't stop there. We understand that needs are present today. And we come together today to help each other today. It's why donations and support to United Way are so key and so important before the pandemic, during this time of recovery, and into the future. I am really proud to share with you all today that on top of the work that we do, I'm also able to let you all know that we're going to be, QP Ontario is going to be donating $2,000 toward the United Way as a result of this breakfast, as another kind of like another demonstration of our commitment. And I want to pledge to you all that we'll continue to work with our locals and with our members We're proud to represent folks at many United Way agencies, but also proud to represent people who do so much work in our communities. During the pandemic, these people stepped up in amazing and wonderful ways. When so many were told to stay home, our members and others on this call and across our communities actually went out to work to keep our communities going, to keep things happening. It's because that's what we do as working people. In crisis, we come together, and in coming together, we can find solutions. It's what the United Way is also doing. And it's why our work together is so incredibly important. I want to say thank you to all of you who organized this event and who through Labor Community Services worked so hard throughout the course of the year to continue this important work. We're going to do everything we can in our union to talk to our members about enhancing their contributions here, because together, workers are the backbone of this amazing work that the United Way does. The contributions that come from working people are actually the foundation of what helps our families and our neighbors to deal with the challenges that we all face. I wish you all a very good rest of today, and thanks again to the organizers. Thanks very much for the invitation. And please know how deeply your work is appreciated.
Wow, thank you, Fred. Thank you for the donation, and thank you for the reminder of how much power we have when we come together. And last but no means least, I welcome Danielle Zanotti, President and CEO of the United Way Greater Toronto. In Danielle's over 20 years of experience in the public and nonprofit sectors, his work is guided by one core value: to work in and with community across all sectors to create positive change. Under his leadership, the organization continues to apply an increasingly regional lens. In 2018, joining with Peel Region to form the United Way of Greater Toronto, the largest United Way in the world and largest funder of social services outside of government. This scaled up approach is improving opportunities for donors, volunteers, and partners across Peel, Toronto, and York region, and building capacity to expand local investments. Danielle holds a master's in social work from the University of Toronto and sits on advisory committees and boards across the region. Danielle, thank you for being with us this morning, and I invite you to please unmute yourself and let us know how your day is.
Thank you, Judith. It all leads to this. All leads to this. Your 150 years as Toronto, York, and Peel's preeminent social justice voice and mobilizer. Our 65 years when you brothers and sisters came together to found United Way in 1956 to meet basic human needs and improve social conditions by mobilizing people. With Andrea, Cheryl, and Michelle on our United Way Board of Trustees, Gobi, Judith, Heather on our campaign cabinet, friends like Abdi, Fred, and Lily, wise elders now like Giovanni Cartwright, all the campaigns, all the training, all the advocacy, all the research lead to this, Labor siblings, us together right now, rising up for united recovery for all. Us together needed now more than ever, because a fall return to school, to work for some semblance of normal for many, at a time when there is no vaccine for the poverty and inequity for few. A COVID that has unequivocally discriminated against racialized, indigenous, low income, and precarious populations. And you know, it doesn't matter where you live across the GTA. There is one map. The COVID hotspot map is the exact same map with the stickiest, stubborn poverty by postal code Is the exact same map with the highest number of racialized and underhoused and precariously employed frontline workers? Is the exact same map with the highest number of chronic disease and mortality rate per capita? You get it. And Radha lives it her whole life in a Mississauga, tiny, moldy tower apartment, living with her dad and 4 other tenants. Her dad working 2 gig jobs, his last one at a factory in Woodbridge. He tested positive after their 9th outbreak, couldn't take a darn minute, let alone a day off, admitted to hospital in days, died in weeks. Radha experienced all the GTA's inequities just like that, alone, until a neighbor hired by a United Way agency as a community ambassador knocked on her door, connected her to a place of worship, now a food bank, among the hundreds of partners who received emergency funding from United Way last year. They gave her food, connected her to a 24-hour United Way warm line for those nights when Radha just didn't want to see the light of day, connected her to a United Way agency to get her out of her 2 gig jobs at 17 so she could keep paying that apartment rent and get her back into school, to her dream of being a psychiatrist to help youth just like her. Radha, wrapped in the arms of community, getting support, getting stronger because of you, family, rising up for a united recovery. This network of United Way Care that you helped found 65 years ago, 280 frontline agencies across Peel, Toronto, and York, reaching out to seniors, sneaking phone cards into moms stuck in domestic abuse, helping families living in vans, unable to pay rent. This network of care you helped found 65 years ago that has been seeding seminal research on issues from poverty by postal code, precarious employment, our most recent social capital reports in Peel and York region, the first of their kind. This network of care knocking on the doors of the city of Brampton, the city of Mississauga, the city of Toronto, and then the province, fighting with you on paid sick leave with still so much damn work ahead. This is what your gift to United Way fuels and funds, meeting immediate needs and improving social conditions. Every single buck you donate invested smack dab at the intersection of poverty, equity, and geography. This is why this summer, as the number of calls for mental health support quadrupled, as encampment tension flared in parks in Toronto, and families struggled to fill their fridges across the 905, we rolled out more needed emergency COVID investments to small connected agencies in your neighborhood. 300 agencies receiving United Way funding for the first time ever, thanks to you. This is why, given our real-time research and on-the-ground pulse of who is doing what, we ensured that well over 65% of our funding intentionally supported racialized and Indigenous groups, thanks to you. Every single buck you donate invested in addressing inequities, decades in the making, magnified by COVID, unignorable now. Now, as more of us focus on our kids going back to school, us getting back to some semblance of normal, our network of agencies is steeped in the deepest need. That's what they call it in crisis theory, the deepest need. It's the first wave of people seeking support as soon as a large-scale crisis seems to lift for most. And it's not necessarily that our agencies are seeing more numbers. In fact, in some cases, they're seeing less people in more dire needs. Spikes in suicide calls from known and first-time callers. Successful opioid interventions on our front lines that never make the headlines, and tragic opioid overdoses that do. Families sleeping in cars, parking lot after parking lot in the 905, unable to maintain a roof over their head. And finally, fleeing abuse. Moms and kids being escorted by United Way workers straight to ER with levels of physical and emotional trauma that professionals have never seen before. The deepest need right now at our frontline agencies. This is why your gift to United Way invests not in one agency or program, but this network that holds, strengthens people. This network that we know is the best way for communities to recover faster and stronger for all. This network that we know saves us $9 in long-term social assistance, emergency health costs down the road. Now, when everything seems to be getting back to normal, the deepest need at our frontline agencies for those at the tip of the K recovery. That's what our partnership helps do. Support, strengthen, and stabilize RADA. RADA now hired part-time on the front line, staffing the warm line to help racialized young women like her find culturally appropriate mental health supports. RADA now enrolled at U of T full-time to pursue her dream, one course at a time. It all leads to this. Now, brothers, sisters, siblings, the whole friggin' labor lot of you. This, our decade-long partnership, your donation today leads to this, rising up for united recovery, now more than ever.
Wow. Thank you, Danielle, and to all of our speakers this morning. Your inspiration and passion is so important to us. Thank you to all of the speakers today. A successful recovery from this pandemic involves all of us. We rise and fall together. So we thank you for your support and encourage everyone to keep United Way and our partnership at top of mind all year round. On behalf of our labor liaisons from Peel, Toronto, and York Region, I will now hand off to Marcia Lopez and jtaylor for additional information.
Well, thank you so much, Judith, and good morning, everyone. My name is Marcia Lopez, and I, along with Richelle Himaya, are the United Way liaisons for Toronto and York Region. Jtaylor will be speaking next. She is our labor liaison for the Peel region. Our role is to help answer any of your questions on how to get more involved with the United Way and support you during the entire campaign season and throughout the year. I just wanted to acknowledge before we go on that I just read in the chat that Lily Chang has committed to donating at the leadership level. Yay, Lily, thank you for that. Thank you so much. So as labor liaisons for United Way, we want to ensure that both labor and our communities are constantly engaged and are aware of what is happening on the ground so that our communities can recover and thrive.
Thank you, Marcia. We also act as a reminder of what labor as a movement has accomplished. We have all worked together to achieve what may have once seemed impossible. We have helped achieve healthcare benefits, minimum wages, workers' health and safety, unemployment insurance, and paid maternity leave, and more, while continuing to fight for human rights. With the devastating effects of the pandemic, we need to continue coming together as a team to tackle the unignorable challenges of poverty.
That's why your gift to United Way this year is so crucial. Union members work in every kind of occupation, using their skills and wisdom to build cities that work and a society that cares. Along with having donated to this year's President's Breakfast to raise funds for the 2021 Community Recovery Campaign, here are 3 ways that you can continue to support the 280 community agencies that our members and communities benefit from today and all year round. Making these steps a part of your local's foundation helps spread the word and strengthens member engagement and support. A huge thank you.
Step 1. If you don't already have a workplace campaign going on, you can start one. Please get in contact with our labor liaison, myself and Marcia, and Richelle for the Toronto York region for any ideas or questions you have.
Step 2. You can sign up for a payroll deduction through your workplace campaign. This makes giving automatic and every dollar counts. If you give more than $1,200 a year, you become a leadership donor.
And step 3, please visit the United Way Greater Toronto website at www.unitedwaygta.org, donate, to see the many ways you can get involved and give again. If you would like more information, please contact myself for the Peel region or Marcia and Richelle for the Toronto York region. I would like to now hand it over to Navi Iolia, the Executive Director of Peel Labor Community Service, to say a few words. Navi?
Thank you, Jackie. On behalf of Peel Regional Labor Council and Toronto and York Region Labor Council, thank you for all your support and taking the time to be with us this morning to share our messages. We hope you leave inspired to be part of this movement and for making such a positive impact on the lives of our neighbors, sisters, brothers, family, and friends. We are all united in the face of the unignorable.
Thank you, Navi. Wow, what an inspirational breakfast. We'd also like to thank all labor volunteers of the United Way campaign for their dedicated work. We hope we have given you an understanding of the impact of your work and your donations to the United Way of Greater Toronto. Your donations and support continues to be so important and vital to our communities. We hope you all have a safe and good day and look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for your donations. And most of all, thank you for your commitment to what we do in all of our communities.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
Bye, Faduma. Good seeing you, Faduma.
Yeah.
Goodbye, all.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
See everyone.